welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Katharine, and today we are going book shopping. But before, I have to eat my Chick-fil-A because this is like the perfect start to a perfect day. I'm having some Chick-fil-A lunch, which is always a 12 count chicken nugget meal with the waffle fries, of course, and some of the Chick-fil-A lemonade. So good. But because this is part of my Vlogtober series that I'm doing, I thought this would be a great day to vlog because, first of all, it's raining. Second of all, it's chilly out. Third of all, whenever I think of fall, I think of going book shopping, to the library, reading. I mean, who can imagine a better day than that? And with making it even a better day, I have to start out with a lunch at Chick-fil-A. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm heading to a Christian bookstore in New Hampshire, but they have another store in Massachusetts. But even though I live in Massachusetts, the Massachusetts store for this specific Christian bookstore that I'm going to, the one in Massachusetts is actually further away from me, so the one in New Hampshire is actually closer to me, which is funny because it's in an entirely different state. But essentially, the reason why I wanted to go to this Christian bookstore is because I want to see, like, what Christian books are out there for me. Like, I have been going through this thing where I haven't been liking any of the Booktube or Bookstagram or Book Talk books that have been recommended to me, and I'm guessing because they're secular books. So I've been watching a lot more Christian fiction Booktubers and Book Talkers lately, and I've gotten some recommendations that I want to see if I can find at the actual bookstore. And Barnes & Noble and a lot of other just normal bookstores don't have a great Christian fiction section, if at all. So, like, that's why I'm going to this Christian fiction bookstore. And they carry a lot of other things like Bibles and Bible studies and things like that, but they also carry Christian fiction books there as well. There surprisingly isn't a lot of Christian bookstores in New England in general, because I feel like generally New England is very dead spiritually. So it's not surprising that there aren't a lot of Christian bookstores. I did used to work for ChristianBook.com, which is based out of Massachusetts, and I was a customer service representative for them, but like they're all only online, if that makes sense. So they don't have like a physical store. And I'm the type of person where, like, if I don't have a book on my physical TBR, then I'm much less likely to pick it up. So that's why I want to go to this Christian bookstore. It's called Morning Star. There's a location in Nashua, New Hampshire, and then one in Leominster, Massachusetts. And so, like I mentioned before, I'm going to the one in New Hampshire. So I'm going to try to see what I can find and maybe pick up a book that has been recommended to me. And then that way I'm more likely to read it. So let me eat my Chick-fil-A, and then I'm going to head to the Morning Star bookstore, which is a Christian bookstore. So as you can see, I'm here at Morning Star, and I'm so excited to be here. Right behind me is the Christian fiction section, and I am excited to pick up some Christian fiction books today. Like I mentioned before, I'm trying to read more Christian fiction because the secular Book Talk, Booktube, Bookstagram community has been recommending me books that I'm not really enjoying, and I feel like the reason that is because they're not Christian. So I'm excited to get some Christian books today, and Christian fiction books, I should say, and I have a few that I have on Goodreads that I've been trying to keep a track of. I've been trying to keep track of, that's what I'm trying to say, on my TBR, and I want to have them physically, like on my shelves on my physical TBR or to be read list. So let me look on Goodreads now to figure out what is on my TBR or to be read list so that I know where I'm looking. Like I said, I'm going to go to my Goodreads account to see what's on like my want to read list or my TBR or to be read list. On Goodreads it's called want to read, but in actuality it's your TBR or your to be read list. So let me go ahead and see what I have on here. I'm on Goodreads right here. If you're not already friends with me or following me on there, please do that because that's where I update a lot of what I'm reading. For some reason, whenever I go to a bookstore or a library, it always makes me lose thinking or my track of thought because I have a good memory like of what I want to read, but like when I get into the actual like physical store, I'm like, or the library, I'm like, wait, what do I want to read? So I always have to double check Goodreads to like make sure like what I want is what I want. So it's super helpful to have this because it's like in writing. So one book that I'm keeping an eye out for is called Winter's Maiden. Apparently it's about the Nordic or like Scandinavian countries during like the Viking times. So I'm gonna try to look out for that. It's by Morgan L. Buse or Buse, B-U-S-S-E, however you pronounce that. So let me see if they have that. I'm also on the lookout for some other books, so let me show you that. I also heard Melanie Dickerson is a great Christian fiction author, and one of her series that she has is the Hagenheim series, and the first book in that series is called The Healer's Apprentice. So I'm going to try to see if they have that. I also heard Rachel Fordman is a really great Christian fiction author, and one of the books that she has is Where the Road Bends, as well as The Letter Tree and Beyond Ivy Walls. I'm also on the lookout for an author called Christy Ann Hunter. She has a series called Hawthorne House, and the first book in that series is A Noble Masquerade. I don't know if you can already tell, but I love historical fiction or historical romance, especially if it's in Christian fiction realm, so that's definitely a theme for me. I love Christian historical fiction or Christian historical romance. I'm not a big fan of contemporary romance, but one of my favorite Christian fiction romances is, and it's a contemporary romance, is The Masterpiece by Francine Rivers, and I've also read Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, and those two are like some of my all-time favorite books, so I'm not going to be getting those today. I also have a few other books by Francine Rivers that I still have to read that are at my house on my bookshelves, so I'm not really going to look out for any Francine River books today, even though she is a popular Christian fiction author. I also have a lot of Karen Kingsbury books on my physical TBR that I'm not going to get today, and then I also have a lot of Beverly Lewis books on my physical TBR that I'm not going to get today. I have read by Karen Kingsbury, like I just mentioned, the Redemption series. I have read that by her. It's like a 5-book series following the Baxter family, and like I mentioned before, Karen Kingsbury has other books other than that series that I also have on my physical TBR, so I'm not going to get any of hers. I heard Gabrielle Meyer is also a good Christian fiction author, and I really want to start her Timeless series, and the first book in that is When the Day Comes. I know there's a few more in that series that actually were just recently released, so I want to catch up on that because I heard that's some of people's favorite series of all time in the Christian fiction realm. I also heard by Rhonda Ortiz, In Pieces is also another great Christian fiction book. I think this is also in another series, but I'm not too sure what the other books in that series are yet. I'll have to research that. Yeah, but I just finished looking through my Goodreads. I don't think I have any other Christian fiction on my radar for my TBR or to be read list, or my want to read list as Goodreads likes to call it. So let me try to find some of those books here. I want to maybe get like 1, 2, or 3 books today. We'll see what I find here, but I'm excited to be here. I drove like literally over an hour to be here because like there's literally like no Christian bookstores or like Christian stores in general in like New England, or they're very far and few between, this being one of them. So I'm really excited to be here. Like I said before, this is like I think one of 2 locations that they have. They have one here in Nashua, New Hampshire. They have one in Leominster, Massachusetts. And I'm just excited to be here. Let me see if I can find any of these books. Research on YouTube, of course, I couldn't find any of the books that were recommended to me on YouTube or Booktube for Christian fiction. I even tried to look for them on my Goodreads account, and they aren't here. Like, I found a few of the authors, but like not the specific books that I was wanting. So I asked like the manager here like what she recommends as like historical Christian fiction, because that's primarily like what I would want to read. And she recommended 3 books. One is by Tracy Peterson. It's What Comes My Way. I also have Pearl in the Sand by Tessa Afshar, and also Freedom's Ring by Heidi Chiavaroli. I think that's how you pronounce it. But I'm gonna read the back of these and see if any of them interest me, and then probably buy 1, 2, or all of them. So I'm just excited to be here because like it's just so encouraging to find a Christian store or like bookstore like this. They also sell like other things here too, like not just books, they sell like gifts and stuff like that. So I'm just excited to be here because like it's just encouraging, like being in New England, because New England's like not really known for like being very Christian. It's like very spiritually dead in New England, and like I'm just glad to be here. So I'm gonna read the back of these and see if any of them interest me. I must have not been looking hard enough, because Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham was actually on the shelf, and that was one of the original books that I wanted to get because it was recommended to me on YouTube. I don't know by who, but I remember seeing this recommended on YouTube by one of the Christian fiction booktubers that I follow, and I added it to like my want to read list or my TBR or to be read list on Goodreads. And I'm so glad that I like really was looking like very carefully like up and down the shelves and like reading the backs of things, because like I actually really want to get this, so I'm gonna get this. So I just got back to my car, and I'm so glad I went to the Morning Star here in Nashua, New Hampshire. I definitely want to visit their other location in Leominster, Massachusetts, but I want to show you what I got first before I head off this video. Let's just appreciate the bag first, though, that they put these books in. I really just wanted to get like maybe one book, like maybe two at the most, but like I got 3 books today, okay? I love this bag though. It says the light shines in the darkness. It's John 1:5. But yeah, I got 3 books today. I really wanted to maybe get 1 or 2, but I got 3 because I'm me. So I'm going to show you what I got, because they're a little bit different from what the girl recommended to me in the store. She was the manager, and I actually am thinking about joining their book club that they have every month. I don't know if I'll be able to go this month, because it's a little bit soon for me to like quickly read the book that they have, because I do have other books that I want to read this month, so maybe I'll go to the one in November. But the first book that I got was A Reluctant Bride by Jody Hedlund. It's the first book in this series, and it's called the Bride Ships series. I believe they're like not like back-to-back series, if that makes sense. Like you can definitely read them individually. They're like all kind of like standalones, but they're all kind of like within this series. Like, but I really want to read, like if it's a part of a series, like I want to read the whole thing. So I believe this is the first one in this book. They might be interconnected standalones, but I'm not too sure, like don't quote me on that. But it's a part of a series nonetheless, and this is the first one. And I'm just going to read the back of this because that's what I did in the store, and it's what interested me in the book. So like I mentioned before, I'm probably the biggest fan of historical fiction, specifically Christian historical fiction, and if there's romance in it, I'm sold. Like, my ideal book is a Christian historical romance, but it can also just be like a regular fiction too. But let me just read the back of this book to you. Like I mentioned, it's called A Reluctant Bride by Jody Hedlund, and it says, living in London's poorest slum, Mercy Wilkins harbors little hope for a better life. So when she's offered the opportunity to join a bride ship sailing to British Columbia, she agrees. The journey abroad is her only prospect to escape a bleak future, both for herself and to help her sister who's suffering in a workhouse. Wealthy and titled Joseph Colville leaves everything behind and takes to the sea to escape the pain of losing his family. As the ship's surgeon, he is in charge of the passengers' welfare aboard the Tynemouth, including 60 brides-to-be. He has no immediate intention of settling down, but when Mercy becomes his assistant, the two must fight against a forbidden love. With hundreds of single men congregating along the shore of Vancouver Island, eager to claim a bride from the Tynemouth, will Mercy and Joseph miss their chance at true love, or will they overcome the obstacles that threaten to keep them apart? So essentially this book, just in layman's terms, apart from the synopsis that's on the back of this, it's about this woman named Mercy, and she's from London's most poor areas, and she boards this ship that is setting off to British Columbia, specifically Vancouver, and it's like a bride ship. So like basically all of these like bride-to-bees are like going on the ship to Vancouver in British Columbia of Canada, and basically she's on there with her sister. Not on there with her sister, but I think she's going to see her sister. Something to do with her sister, who is in a workhouse. So she's doing this to basically save her sister. I don't know if the sister is in Vancouver or in London or whatever, or if she's on the ship. But anyway, it's about this girl named Mercy, okay? She goes on this ship. It's like a bride-to-be ship that's going to Vancouver in British Columbia in Canada. And then she meets Joseph Colville, and he's the surgeon on the ship. And basically, Mercy becomes his assistant on the ship, and they fall in love, and essentially it's like a forbidden romance. And is she going to marry, it's like this question of like, is she going to be married to whatever guy is waiting in Vancouver for her, or is she going to be with Joseph? So I'm really excited for this. I don't know why, but this synopsis just really intrigued me, so I'm excited to read this. The next book I got is The Tea Chest by Heidi Chiavaroli, and the manager in the Morningstar store, Christian bookstore, or store, it's just a Christian store, okay, that has books in it along with other things that are Christian, okay? But she's the manager, and she recommended this author to me, Heidi Chiavaroli, and she recommended like another book to me, but even though I am gonna add that to my TBR, I did not want to like buy it immediately today. I forget the name of that one, but it's basically set in the same time as this. It's not like in the same series. I think this is just like a pure standalone, and that other book is also a pure standalone. But for some reason, this book called to me more. Even though this isn't the specific book that the manager recommended to me, it's the same author that she recommended. And it's called The Tea Chest by Heidi Chiavaroli, just like I said. And I'm going to read the back of this as well because it did intrigue me. And it's hard for me to explain books without having read them first. So I'm going to just read the back of it so that you get a clear image of what it's about. So it's dual timeline, just from the back. It takes place in both of the timelines both taken place in Boston. One is in 1773 and one is in present day. So in 1773 it follows a girl named Emma, and her father is loyal to the crown. But Emma's heart belongs to Noah Winslow, a patriot. Her father's promised her hand to Samuel Clark, forcing her to give up Noah and the friends who are like family to her, as well as the beliefs she embraces. After Emma is drawn into the Boston Tea Party, Samuel blackmails her with evidence condemning each participant, including Noah. Emma realizes she must do whatever it takes to protect those she loves, even if it means giving up the life she desires and marrying Samuel. And then, present day, Lieutenant Haley Ashworth is determined to be the first woman inducted into the elite Navy SEALs. But before her dream can be realized, she must return to Boston to put the abuse and neglect of her childhood behind her. When an unexpected encounter with the man she once loved leads her to the discovery of a tea chest and the document hidden within, she wonders if perhaps true strength and freedom are buried deeper than she first realized. So, like I said, it's a dual timeline. They're both located in Boston, which is kind of cool because I'm from Massachusetts, and Boston is the closest, biggest city to me. It's the capital of where I'm from. So that's really cool. And I believe Heidi Chiavaroli is also from the area. So, like, that's really cool that I'm reading an author that's local to me. But essentially, like I said, both timelines in this book are located in Boston. One is in 1773, and it follows Emma, and her dad follows the crown. And then this Emma girl, she falls in love with this guy named Noah, and Noah is a patriot. Her and Noah and a few of her friends participate in the Boston Tea Party, and Samuel, who she's apparently engaged to, is also loyal to the crown, just like Emma's father, and he basically blackmails Emma, Samuel, and it just goes from there, I believe. And then in the present day, it follows Haley, who's a lieutenant in the SEALs, and she wants to become one of the elite SEALs. And she goes back to Boston to face her trauma of her past, and apparently it's like a second chance romance, if I'm not mistaken, when she finds like this hidden document in this tea chest. I'm assuming it's from the Boston Tea Party. That's how the two timelines are connected, I'm assuming. And this second chance romance happens when they both find this document in this thing, so they both are helping each other with this document. So that kind of is interesting to me. I love history, as you can probably tell by the list of these books. And then the last book that I have here is a Rachel Fordman book. It's called Where the Road Bends, and I think I'm remembering who recommended this book to me. Her name is called Oshina. I'll try to tag her below. She's like one of the Christian fiction YouTubers that I follow, and I think she said this was one of her favorite historical romances, or Christian historical romances, as I should state more clearly, because I believe she is more of like a Christian contemporary romance reader, and for me, as a Christian historical romance reader and lover, it means a lot to me when a person who has different tastes in books says that a Christian historical romance is like one of their favorite books. That means a lot to me because they are recommending something that's out of their comfort zone, and they're saying it's their favorite book, so like, or one of their favorite books. So like, it means a lot to me that Oshina recommended this book, because like, that means that it took a lot for her to like get out of that comfort zone and read something like this. And for me, if someone who likes a different genre than me says that one of their favorite books is like in the genre that I like, I'm immediately going to pick it up, because I just respect that opinion and that recommendation even more. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me, okay? But I will read the back of this just so that you get a clear synopsis of what this is. Like I said, I can't really describe books before reading them, so I am really bad at that, but I'll try to get better for you guys. But essentially, the synopsis on the back says, "The strongest love is formed in the crucible of hardship." As Nora King surveys her family land in Iowa in 1880, she is acutely aware that it is all she has left, and she will do everything in her power to save it, even if that means marrying a man she hardly knows. Days before her wedding, Nora discovers an injured man on her property. Her sense of duty compels her to take him in and nurse him back to health. Little does she realize just how much this act of kindness will complicate her life and threaten the future she planned. Nora's care does more than aid Quincy Barnes's recovery. It awakens his heart to possibilities. Penniless and homeless, he knows the most honorable thing he can do is head on down the road and leave Nora to marry her intended. But walking away from the first person to believe in him proves much harder than he imagines. Jeez, I'm like struggling with reading these synopsises. I don't know why. But basically, in layman's terms, this girl named Nora owns family land in Iowa in the 1880s, which is kind of during the California Gold Rush period without being in California. So it's around that same like Wild Wild West type time frame, but this isn't even in the West, it's in Iowa, okay? But it's in the 1880s, okay? So this girl named Nora owns family land in Iowa in 1880, and basically she is supposed to marry this man who she barely knows, and just days before her wedding, she finds an injured man on her property and basically has to nurse him back to health, and then in aiding him back to health, he and she fall in love, I'm assuming, or at least get feelings for each other, and really recognizing that he's basically poor and homeless, he wants to not be with her just for the sake of like saving her from suffering in being with him. So he basically wants her to marry the guy that she's supposed to be marrying, but I think it's just about them like maybe overcoming that and maybe being together. I don't know. I feel like that's where this book would be headed, but that's that, Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. Fordham? I don't know how to pronounce that. But yeah, those are the 3 books that I got today from Morning Star, which is in Nashua, New Hampshire. Like I said, they have another location that I really want to visit in Leominster, Massachusetts, and hopefully I can visit there sometime soon in the future. But I just bought a lot of books. Those 3 books came out to be just under $50, and that was kind of like my max for today's trip. And I know some other booktubers like will buy like stacks and stacks of books from Barnes & Noble, which honestly is more expensive than me buying from here. So I don't know how they can afford buying those books from Barnes & Noble, because Barnes & Noble is expensive and this is cheaper. But yeah, I'm probably not going to be buying a whole ton of books in the near future. I'm not going on a book buying ban, but just like maybe like taking it to the down low, if that makes sense. Like just not going out of my way like I just did right now to like buy books. But if I find something that I want to buy, I'll buy it. But I'm not like, what am I trying to say? I'm not out to buy books right now. Like I'm trying to like settle down, because I just bought those 3. So I am going to head home now. Thank you for joining along this adventure with me today. I'm really excited to have visited here. I now know this is like one of my favorite stores in the area now, but I'm gonna head home. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Please do all the YouTube things that you know how to do, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!